31st of July, which means it's the last day of the month. We also have FOMC today, so that is something to be mindful of later on. So FOMC coming at 7 p.m. UK time. Unless it's changed, it's normally 7 p.m. UK time. I haven't actually had a look. It is 7 p.m. UK time. And then we have the FOMC conference, the press conference with our good friend Jerome Powell, happening 30 minutes after that. So there's a pretty strong probability that I will go live for the FOMC. We'll see how the day goes, see how it unfolds. But overall, it's another one of those days where we see prices just hanging around the point of control, hanging around the monthly level, and we're just going to see where we end up. As always, a thank you to the very kind sponsors of these videos at Blofin. So if you guys are interested in trading non-KYC exchange, open to everybody across the world, they're doing some very nice deposit bonuses, 15% deposit bonus right now. So take yourself over, link is in the description below. You get a 15% deposit bonus, plus volume-based bonuses, plus discounts on fees if you trade using the link directly underneath this video. But starting off here on the daily, okay, there was another bit of a drop yesterday. Now, it wasn't very much considering what happened to legacy markets. So the NASDAQ and the S&P had a big drop yesterday. Bitcoin had a little drop yesterday, which is very similar to what we saw last week as well, where there were new. So essentially what we've been seeing recently is, so the NASDAQ and the ES hit the 1.618, macro 1.618, and they've been in this like bit of a corrective move since. But Bitcoin has actually been making these higher lows and higher highs at the same time. So whilst the legacy markets have been making the lower lows and lower highs, the Bitcoin has been kind of doing the inverse of that, being a little bit more resilient on the moves down, and then extending a little bit higher when there is those recoveries. But overall, it's just not a lot of movement here. It's pretty slow. It is summer, school holidays, yeah, not a huge amount of money in the market right now in order to move things. So if we look on the daily, what happened very simply yesterday, okay, we hit an untapped daily level. That has been consistently happening from this range. So if I do zoom in here, we did have an untapped daily level, which was right here. What did we do last week? It was the same thing. Okay, so what we're not wanting to see right now is price messing around with this stuff. Right? We just don't want to see it messing around with this stuff. A dip into it and a quick recovery back out would be okay. If there is to be any carnage, maybe at FOMC today, maybe they hike the rates again. It's never going to happen. But if there is to be anything that causes that carnage, a dip into that 62K level would be acceptable. But you'd want to see a very, very quick recovery out of it, because as soon as you start messing around with this, getting that back down to value area low, we know that we've probably got a flip up bias to be bearish again. But as for now, it has just been very, very straightforward, rotating between balance and imbalance, but general direction is still up. And that is why I'm still very confident in any of the long positions that I've been taking from lower down. The thing that's not quite as good about all of this is because there isn't a whole lot of confidence in the market. We're not seeing altcoins responding or reacting well to any of the price action. Altcoins are mainly just staying stable, not really following Bitcoin on the moves up and then falling away on those moves down. So it's a bit of a bleed from altcoins, but many of them still holding those July lows. I mean, most of them still holding those July lows. Maybe all of them still holding those July lows, at least the ones that we've been looking at recently. So not a huge amount to be doing here, rather than just kind of wait and see how price continues to develop. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't trades to be had. All right, so we'll go down onto the 4-hour again here. And you know that we took the short position that was looking for the lows from, so I'm going to take it down even onto even lower time frames, because even the 4-hour here is not the cleanest. So we're going to go onto the 30-minute, and we're just going to zoom in, take a look at this. We had the Bitcoin conference, Trump talk, a lot of speculation, a lot of hype, all of this kind of thing over the weekend. What happened on the Monday, Sunday night into Monday, price came up, took out the highs. All right, people who have maybe been like, oh, Trump's going to cause the top. Didn't happen, all right? We took the highs. A couple of SFPs off of that just before we started the New York session. And then a nice little dumpy down. So I did alert the crew to this short position. We did take profit relatively quickly on this to begin with. Then I took larger profit as we came down to these lows. And I'm still riding that. I'm still riding that trade just in case of any further downside, but there's not a lot of size left that I have on there. Now, yesterday, I then took a long as we came down into what was single prints and this untapped daily level. So I got in a little bit early just because I kind of just wanted to like finish up for the day. I liked the fact that we had swept the lows again, which, if you remember, during yesterday's live stream, I'm just going to hide these, during yesterday's live stream, I did speak about the fact that it's likely that we take out these lows, okay? We have poor lows on the day. It is likely that we take them out. And I just liked the liquidity that was down here that was taken, and also tapping into that daily level. Now, we did have one more sweep of the lows, which is absolutely fine. I'm perfectly happy to accept that, like, all right, that's hardly any drawdown there. And there was certainly no acceptance inside the single prints or below that daily level. Had a decent bounce, and now so far holding this daily open. So this right here being our daily open right now, and price is just about clinging onto it. So essentially what I'm looking at now, I like the low that we have from yesterday. Okay, I like that we hit the untapped daily level. I like that we filled or at least tapped those single prints. All right, let's clean this up even more. Okay, we know that the Trump lows were taken. We know that there was other stuff to be looking at here. We tapped into those single prints. As you can see, impulse here. Yep. So price moves up, corrects, impulses, then straight higher. All of this has now been recovered and retraced, and there hasn't been any acceptance back below there, which does mean that we have a generally bullish bias for the day. So the trade that I'm looking at the moment, I did get into on that SFP. I was basically looking at an invalidation being if we traded through those single prints and came out the other side of them. What you want to see when you have an area of imbalance like this is you want to see, of course, price either coming down, tapping into them and recovering, or if you get acceptance, you trade through them and then usually out the other side. So that was the thesis there. That was the invalidation. Have not been invalidated. And what I'm looking for essentially is all of that can now be recovered. All right, it's really straightforward. You impulse, you then have an area of balance, you then correct the whole move down, and then what's likely to happen next? You correct the whole move back up again. So if this does get this continuation later, let's say FOMC provides us with a nice move up, I think this can easily get to 69,600 by the end of the day before we go into August. However, we then have to be aware that there is this monthly level. Okay, it is going to be is it going to close above, engulf? Is it going to close below? Maybe a sign of weakness that we have a bit more downside to come early in August. And I think the daily close today will give us a good indication of it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. These, like, where the monthly level closes doesn't matter. But I think that first move that we see tomorrow will be dependent on what we get today. If we close above here, then I think we can probably see an Asia session that just comes up towards these highs. I still think there's more of this range to come. We are going to continue to go up and then down and then up and then down. We're not looking at any kind of trend to start to form here. But overall, yes, in that long position, looking for higher. I also see no reason why these highs would get taken at this stage either. Okay, so we just have to trade the range. You have to be diligent in taking profits. If there is to be a move back up to here, I would probably seek to short it again. Okay, and even if there is to be a little SFP or something like that, I would probably look to short that once again afterwards. Now, if we go down onto, let's just have a look on XO. And from today, okay, this gives us a little bit more confluence for this idea, right? Let's look at the TPO chart. So what we have right here is just very, very balanced for the past couple of days. All right, we did have that spike down that gave us a nice tail yesterday. Today we tapped into it. All right, so this is essentially acting like single prints. There is excess down here. Price has bounced from that excess. It is back above the daily open. And what we have done now is just come into that time POC from yesterday. So when you have these days where it's just like kind of long and slow, where price spends a lot of time, is likely to get a reaction like this. And we're just pinned within balance right now. Value area high very slightly above. But as I mentioned on the previous chart, if we are to start to see a move up that takes out these highs, there are poor highs now from yesterday. Okay, when we did the stream, that wasn't there, but we came up and we just chopped around those highs again for an hour or two just after I did the live stream yesterday. Then we came down, put in the tail on the day, had that recovery. There are poor highs up here. Now, if that is going to get taken, what happens then? Likelihood is some acceptance back inside value area. Once you get acceptance back inside the value area from Monday, then where are we looking to go? 69,600. Okay, I know it's very small text there, but what was the level that we were just looking at? What was the level I spoke about a minute ago? That's where our confluence is. That POC is the start of the drop down that we had on Monday. So it can come all the way up here and do that within like the space of a few hours or something. It will be, if there is to be a move up, it would likely happen quite quickly. And then maybe we end up back around that monthly level to close out the month towards this evening. Now, let's have a look on this one. The CVD, the order flow, has just been generally just spot selling and perp selling as well. So this, because we've had a bearish couple of weeks on the NQ, right? I think a lot of the ETF, I mean, it's not really been outflows. I think it's been relatively flat. I haven't actually checked the ETFs for a few days. We'll have a look at that in just a second. But it has just been generally like people kind of exiting the market, but there has been absorption here. So there is clear absorption going on. Now, does that lead to another situation? When we saw this happen previously, it did end up rolling over, but it was a kind of a different phase within the market then. That was when we were up at highs, like chopping around. Everyone was really bullish. Now that's not so much the case. We are building these bullish divergences. With the last time we had this bullish divergence on these lows down here, it did make a new high. We're now doing the same thing again today. So does lead me to a bias for today at least, that this has the opportunity to float higher. The invalidation for the long trade is very, very simple. Like I said, it's if we trade through those single prints that were created yesterday, not created yesterday, created back in the on the 25th of July, or like trading and gaining acceptance below previous day lows. So let's just have a quick look on the ETFs. I've got the ETH ETF up here at the moment. Let's not a lot going on there. There's still the general outflows from Grayscale going on. It's been very, very flat. Yeah. So the ETF inflows and outflows have been very, very flat for the last week, which is probably what what we would expect. What we also have, of course, I do continue to repeat this, we do have the spot premium. That means generally, okay, we're seeing nice absorption within the market. It means funding rates are pretty good. So if you're in long positions from lower, of course, if you're in long positions from lower, there's not really any need to act on those, to take profit on those, to do any of that kind of thing. I do believe that this eventually resolves up. It is just a case of whether we come back down here and dip into this level right now, or whether we continue with this slow move up, maybe we come down, do this a bit longer, and then eventually do resolve up towards like as we're going into like September kind of time. That's my time base for when I think things can start getting exciting again. So, whoa, just to wrap it up. Do I need to wrap it up? Yeah, the confluence is 69,600. So that is where we have the POC from Monday. That is also the point in which we started to drop down. So, like I've said before, you either tap into the single prints, as we've done here, or you trade all the way through them. Now that means as soon as we start taking out some of these highs, the chances are you trade all the way through them. So 69,600 being the key level right now for myself to be looking at. We do then have to be aware that there is a trend. We are in a slight, but it is there. We are in an uptrend. So do we have a situation where I would likely look to short this anyway, because it's so close to the highs, I would likely look to short it anyway. And yeah, then we'll see what happens basically. So that's it really. If there is to be more of a move down, I'm still holding that short position. And the target for that short position could be a spike down into 62K. And we just have to see if there is going to be volatility during FOMC later. I'm not sure it's going to be very much. Now, the reason why I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of... I could be very, very wrong on this. But I'm going to stick my neck out and say it's not going to do that much or anything too unexpected, FOMC later, because Nasdaq's already had the massive move. All right, it's last week. It has some of the biggest corrective days in its history. Last week, or some of the biggest down days in its history. And Bitcoin's not really done a lot when there was massive dumps. And if there is going to be a big pump, it likely gets retraced anyway because it's news. All right, that's just what happens. So I'm not expecting that much fireworks. It will likely be if there is to be a spike of highs, I would expect that we see some continuation. If there is to be a spike of lows, I would expect that we probably can fade that. Like overall, I do believe that this is what we're looking at as slightly more likely. If we come down and take out some lows again, it's fine as long as we're not seeing that acceptance. But there's nothing really below us unless we're going to 62K. That seems like a stretch for today. So to come down to 62K does seem like a stretch. I am holding the short position in case that happens. But it's a long way away. So yeah, I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm going to continue on with the live stream. I hope you guys found that useful. If you did, hit the like button. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video tomorrow. Cheers. Bye-bye.